Most new investors, right, they think that you need to have a huge down payment, you need to go out to the bank and get a loan, and you need 45 to 60 days to close on a property. You need inspections, you need contingencies, and I haven't purchased a property that way in a real long time. There are faster and smarter ways to fund your deals. And when you can close fast with cash in hand, both sellers and wholesalers will actually give you a better price, which actually helps you. So let me show you how to do it. So when you're able to close quickly with cash in hand, you have leverage that another buyer who's going out to a bank and getting financing doesn't have, right? In fact, if you go out and get traditional financing, there's plenty of deals on the market that you're not even going to have access to. Deals that wholesalers have, where they're collecting an assignment fee. Many banks say, no. We're not going to let you pay an assignment fee. What are you talking about? And that's going to knock you out of most investor transactions because a lot of them do have an assignment fee on them, which is when you're dealing with a wholesaler. That being said, right, if I come to if I come to a seller or a wholesaler and I have cash in hand and I give them certainty that I'm going to close as soon as title is clear, right? You compare that offer that I make for, let's say, $100,000, and you have another buyer that comes in even at 105, right? So this wholesaler or this seller is going to make another $5,000 by going with this other buyer. If that other buyer needs to go out and get financing and have an inspection contingency and have an appraisal contingency and have a financing contingency, and it might close in 45, might close in 60 days, right? A lot of times they're going to say, well, gee, for $5,000, I'd rather get it done with Chatto and have it done quickly than get the extra $5,000 from the other guy and jump through all these hoops and have all these complications. So when I make an offer, the seller knows that it's a done deal, right? I don't have any of those contingencies in place. So the other caveat, though, is if I have my own money, I'm going to run out of money, right? How many deals can I buy before my liquid reserves become the bottleneck into new deals I can purchase? So it's really actually a mindset shift where it's not actually about having the money, it's about knowing where to get the money. And that's something that goes a long way. And a lot of times it's called in investing circles private money. So that's something we're going to talk about a little bit more as this video moves forward. But that being said, it's still the same type of deal, right? You need to buy a property, you need to stabilize it, rent it, like get that property performing. And then for long-term keep, you need to refinance with a bank and get extremely strong terms because you're giving the bank an asset that is in great condition, an asset that's been renovated, an asset that has a tenant in place that's paying, right? And now, if you have a W-2 job and you have income and you have good credit and you throw all of that into the mix when you go to refinance, you're going to get much better terms, right? And that's going to give you more cash flow. So just keep that in mind as well. So it's not just about acquiring the money to purchase it, right? The property needs to be stabilized and long-term financing does need to get put in place. So as a little bit of an aside, when I got started early, that's kind of where I ran into a bottleneck, right? I was able to source funds. I had a W-2 job. I was making good money. I was able to source funds for a couple of deals, and then I kind of ran out of my own money. And I didn't get the refinance done yet, so I hadn't gotten paid back, and a great deal came along. And this deal came along, and it had a tenant in there forever. I guarantee he's probably still there. I've sold this property a couple of years ago, and that's a whole different question about partnerships and this, that, and the other. But I got this property, and it was a good deal. So you know what? And I think the purchase price was like $28,000. So I'm like, okay, I know this is a deal. I got to buy this property, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, right? Because I've spent all my money on these other properties that I've purchased. So I get the property under contract. So like now, like it's real. Like I'm like, my word is on the line. I got to get this deal closed. I got to make it happen. I got to get it done. So the way that I actually ended up financing this deal was I used credit cards. I went out and I had my credit cards and I had good credit and I had good limits, and I went out there and I was able to get cash off of those cards. If you go and do a cash advance, That's going to cost you a lot of money, and the interest rate's going to be high. But a lot of these cards offer these 0% interest checks. We get them all the time. These 0% interest checks. They come in the mail, right? If you have good credit and you have credit cards, these checks come all the time. They give you 0% interest for like 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and you could just deposit them in your checking account, and it's cash, right? And there's usually like a 3 to 5% fee upfront, which sucks. But if you're paying no interest, like, okay, it works out. So long story short, I was able to fund that deal with credit cards, and I was able to get it purchased. And yeah, I got the property purchased, and I got it rented, and the same tenant was there. I had to do some minor renovations and stuff. But the point is, it is just another tool in the toolbox, right? Part of having good credit, having credit cards. I'm not saying, hey, go out and use credit cards to buy properties. I'm saying it can be done, and it's something you need to be very careful with, because if you don't have a very high limit and you max out your cards doing this, your credit is going to get shot, and then you're not going to be able to refinance once you stabilize the property. So keep that in mind. But having access to credit, especially almost as like reserves, right? And it's not like I'm telling you, don't have reserves, just have credit, right? But it is just another tool in your tool belt that's going to help you when things go sideways, to make sure that you have a little bit of a buffer to handle what you need to handle. So one other thing that I do want to touch on is that if you already own a property, right, whether it's your house, whether it's a rental, any property with equity, there's something called the HELOC loan, which I'm sure you've heard of. They're very common, but it gives you the ability to write a check backed by the equity in your home in order to do whatever you want. Now, a lot of people use them to renovate their house where they live. Great. You're not helping your cash flow with that. But if you use that to purchase a property, right, now you're generating cash flow, right? You have this property, and now you're using that money in your house to buy another house, right? So you're using that money to buy an asset, right? Not to like spend on junk, but to buy an asset. And that asset's going to cash flow, and then you're going to refinance it. Like I said, once you get it renovated, once you get it stabilized, you're going to refinance it, and then you're going to pay back that home equity line of credit, and repeat and repeat and repeat. So that's another tool that I see a lot of investors using, especially if they've owned their house for a while. They use that as a that home equity line of credit as dry powder to go out and buy more deals and find more deals. And again, just like your own cash, there's only so much of that you can use. And obviously, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where, your personal residence where you live is at risk, right? You need to be careful in everything you do. And you need to be calculated. But again, just like the credit cards, it's another tool in your toolbox. So that being said, the ultimate, right, the holy grail, the holy grail of having money, right, is private money. So what is private money? Private money is really when you know people, right? There's probably, I don't have my phone with me because I'm recording on it. There's a lot of people in my phone, right? And those people, a lot of them have money. And I can actually help them because they're sitting there with, I don't know, 30, 50, 100,000 sitting in a money market account earning what, 3, 4%? If I can pay them 8%, 9%, 10% on their money, right? That I'm giving them, so I'm providing value to them, right? I'm giving them an opportunity to have their money backed by real estate, right? That's cash flowing, or will eventually be cash flowing if they have faith in my track record, right? So I'm giving them the ability to get that money, take it out of a CD, put it into my deal, right? Collect higher interest rate, have it backed by a property, and like I'm able to provide value for them, right? So it's not like I'm going out somebody and say, hey, can I borrow money from you? I need money to buy this deal. No, it's like, hey, I got this opportunity. I got this deal I'm putting together, right? And I'm able to give you 10% instead of 3% or whatever the case may be. So it's a mindset shift, and you're not really asking somebody for money. You're presenting them with an opportunity to like do better with the money that they have. So that being said, if you're able to unlock that process and figure that out. And that's not what we're really going to dive too deep into on this video, but it is something we're going to explain. It really is a huge unlock to be able to buy more and buy more and buy more properties. And I wish I could take credit for this. I didn't figure it out. It was actually another investor. I was wholesaling properties back in the day, and an investor that kept buying properties from me, I'm like, bro, where are you getting this money from? And he's like, hey, man, I'm using private money. I'm like, okay, what's that? And mind you, not too long ago, I just purchased the house with a credit card, right? Because I'm trying to figure out how to raise money. And he explains it to me, and I'm like, whoa, that's cool. I'm like, I got to figure that out. And he explained it to me, and he sat down with me, like, great, man. He sat down and explained it to me. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me figure this out. So, of course, I'm still wholesaling properties, right? Because that's kind of how I'm paying my bills right now when I left my W-2 job. That being said, I need to figure this out. So what I did was, right, I needed it to click. Like, I understood it. He explained it to me, but I needed to actually do it so it clicked in my head. So I had a deal come across my plate in the hood of hoods. I had no interest in this deal. And right, I had another buyer that I was going to be able to flip it to in a short amount of time. But right now it's another 15 grand I had to come out of pocket. So I'm like, okay, what do I do here? So I actually went to a real estate event for my local RIA, and I started talking to people, and I said, hey, I got this deal. I need $15,000. That's it, just $15,000 to get this deal done, to get this deal closed. I need $15,000. I got this guy over here. He is lined up. He is going to buy it from me in X amount of time. I'll be willing to give you whatever it was, 10%. It might have even been more because it was such a small amount of money, 15 grand. I might have even offered 15%. I can't even remember now because it was a while ago. That being said, though, right? So I'm talking to everybody at the real estate meeting, talking to different investors, and I spoke to one guy, Mike, and he's like, yeah, let's do it. Oh, wow, cool, right? So based on what Paul taught me on how to go ahead and do all this, I put it together, and the guy lends me $15,000. I close on the deal. Goes to fruition. The end buyer buys it. He gets his money back. He makes his interest. He's happy, right? So that first one that I got done, got it to click in my head. So now it's clicked in my head. Okay, now I get it. So now I build a relationship with this guy, right? And I have other deals coming up, and I say, hey, I got this deal. It's $25,000. Oh yeah, I'll fund that. Okay, cool. I got this other deal. It's $30,000. Next thing you know, hey, I got this deal. It's $120,000. And he's funding my deals. And he became one of my big private lenders. And I worked together with him for a long time. And he was making money with his money. I'm using his money to make money, to purchase properties, to keep them. And that relationship just built. Every single time that you do what you say you're going to do and you pay somebody back, they want to lend to you again, and they want to lend to you again, and they want to lend to you again. It's a win-win, really. They make a better return on your money, and I get to buy more properties. The big thing with private money, though, is that you do need to treat their money better than you would treat your own money. It's one thing if I lose my money. I can live with that. If I lose somebody else's money, I can't really live with that. That doesn't work for me. I got to figure it out. And I've even been on the other end of it where I've lent out money and I'm still waiting to get paid back, right? And you know what? I'm never going to lend to that person again, right? After that, right? It's like you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it. You didn't make it happen. So I'm not going to lend back to that money, lend back to that person, right? He didn't treat that money. He was more worried about his money than my money, right? So if I'm borrowing money from somebody, I need to treat their money better than my money, if that makes sense, if I got all the my's and yours right. That being said, again, keep in mind, no matter which one of these tools you use, whether it's a HELOC, whether it's private money, the back end is always the same. Buy the property, renovate it, stabilize it, get tenants in, refinance with a bank for long term. So again, you need to be bankable. You need to keep your credit good. You need to keep your credit card utilization good. and you need to keep yourself positioned so that you can continue to buy, so that you can continue to refinance. So hopefully this video was of value to you. And the other thing, I just want to put a little caveat. I do understand I didn't even get into creative financing, right? Subject to and all the other creative ways to finance deals and use other people's money. And that's not what this video is about. And there's reasons that it may or may not be good. And again, this video is about like, hey, if you have the money and the powder that you need, the dry powder that you need to pull the trigger, right? When deals come along, you're going to get more deals, right? And if you're able to pull the trigger and close quickly, then you're going to get a better price than the other guy. So hopefully this video was of value to you. Hopefully you understand, like, you don't necessarily need to use your own money to buy a house. Hopefully you understand that if a deal makes sense and you're ready to buy it, you need to have the tools available in order to get that closed. And again, coming up in future videos, I'm going to dive deeper in private money and how to structure deals and how to find lenders and how to build that trust. And I appreciate your hanging out this long. It's been almost 15 minutes. Again, you can go to chatwithchatto.com. I have a cool checklist that you can download for when you're going to your properties that helps you with preventative maintenance and preventing work orders from coming in and just making sure your property is well taken care of. And if you want to have a chat with Chatto, I also have a link on my website as well where you can book a call. I'd love to talk to you and see if I can help you in any way. So with that being said, that's all at chatwithchatto.com. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And as always, I appreciate your hanging out and watching this episode of Chat with Chatto.